Test. Can you hear me?
Can we get this meeting started? Excuse me. 7 o'clock. Welcome. You want to get the coffee meeting about? The additions to the agenda. Item number 11, camera. Item number 2,
If we're with the correspondence, we're here in North EMS. If you're going to have a discussion on it, then I'll declare a conflict. But if you're just going to read the correspondence, then we'll be okay.
Presentation. Presentation. Welcome. Bruno and the correct story. Right? Perfect. Perfect. Welcome.
Good evening, and thank you for the opportunity of appearing here tonight. My name is Silvio Di Gregorio. I'm Secretary Treasurer of Bruno's Group of Companies. In front of you, you have a little package that represents some of the projects that we have been involved in. Bruno's Group of Companies are involved in road construction, site development, site servicing, aggregate supply, equipment rentals, industrial supplies, resort development and management, construction and management of shopping plazas, office buildings, industrial buildings, and residential subdivisions. Also, we're involved in home construction, and we have a vineyard and a winery in South America. So we cross a wide border of expertise in the areas that we are involved in. In 1994, Bruno's contracting took on the development of the Parkdale subdivision for the city of Thunder Bay. This project had been in the planning stages for over 20 years. And they were not able to find anybody to develop it or to get it off the ground. This development was huge. It involved over 2,000 residential units, along with 2 school sites and some commercial components. The project involved the extension of a 25-foot deep trunk sewer that would service all of the lands in Thunder Bay from the Harbor Expressway south to Arthur Street, from the expressway all the way out to Maple Ward Road, which in the end would have been a total community of about 10,000 units. However, this was the first stage, and the first stage is always the most expensive. It involved the construction of a bridge, a road access, a stormwater plan, and a water service. All of this at a cost of over $10 million in 1994 dollars. And that was before you could start building a road for your first lot. This was sort of bringing the trunk sewer from a kilometer away, water from both ends a kilometer away, just to say, okay, now you can start developing it. Today, we have over 2,000 residents living in the Parkville subdivision. In Red Rock, you have a parcel of land to the east of Brook Trout Creek. It's a brownfield. It is an abandoned, I'm not sure if you want to call it gravel pit. It looks like material was removed from there, moved somewhere, and you've got a big hole in the middle of nowhere. Everything's thrown in there, railroad ties. I don't know what is in there. It is truly a brownfield. As a result, it will require a tremendous amount of earth moving and planning to make it developable. The cost to develop the site from our preliminary budget, again, before you could start building your first home, would be about $2.5 million. We are prepared to do this at our cost. However, there are no services at the adjacence of where the property, the services would have to be brought to the property. And on top of that, it would require a lift station, simply because the elevations don't work. We would request that the construction of the services, at least to the site, be performed by others, the community or funding. The redevelopment of this brownfield would permit the construction of 19 single-family homes, 24 townhome units, and 60 apartment condo units. The estimated value of that construction would be about $25 million. Of course, this would not happen all at once. We would develop the site, put in the roads and everything, construct the model home, and from there, at least the lots and the units would be available. As the units are sold at that time, we would build them. I'm here to answer any questions. I've kept my presentation simple and to the point, and I'm just here to answer any questions that you might have.
What length of time would you be looking at for the initial digging, preparing the ground?
It would have to start next year. There are certain items in the planning stages that would have to get resolved first, then permitting. Depending on how quickly that would happen, it would be anywhere between May and September. Okay? We would be prepared to start when those are ready. But nothing happens overnight. And especially now with COVID, government responses are a little slower.
Now, I know there's a big need with housing in the area. They seem to be selling quite fast and it's not enough. Do you see that property being developed that would be desirable to draw people into the area? There would be a lot for a lakeside.
We see the attraction of having, not all the units would have lake frontage.
Right, yep.
The 19 residential units would have some lake frontage, some creek frontage. The townhomes and and the condos apart would be across the street, but at an elevation where they would have a lake view, which we think is important. We are hoping that that would be, marketable and would attract people. But whether it would be developed in 3 years or 10 years, the market will dictate. I mean, we're prepared to go in and spend our money and wait for customers to come.
You should get started because I sold one of your houses on the weekend.
Tomorrow morning.
There's a couple from Sudbury retiring next year. Couldn't believe it.
Well, we believe Red Rock is an hour from Thunder Bay, an international airport, a significant health provider, in the hospital and things like that. I mean, there's already people living 40, 50 kilometers outside of Thunder Bay and commuting in, What is an extra 10 to 20 kilometers?
And the way the 4-lane the highway now.
Tender was just released for the section of the 4-laning at Dorian. So it runs from Dorian easterly, Thunder Bay. There remains 2 chunks from Dorian to Red Rock and from Wilmette to Pass Lake. So we're hopeful that in 10 years that will happen.
So my concern is the brownfield. You sort of made reference to it being a brownfield. So have you done preliminary work? Do you know you haven't done
Not at all, but just a walk through there.
Yeah.
It's a big hole.
Yeah.
Okay. We are in the aggregate business, so we can tell that material was removed from there 60, 70 years ago.
Yeah.
What kind of material it was, I don't know. Then lots of things have been thrown in, mainly railroad ties.
Mhm.
Quite possible the railroad used that material for fill or to mill. I don't know.
Years ago, there was a logging road down in that area. You go down and even a bonfire and it's all red.
Yeah. I would think so. Essentially, this initial presentation is to see if there's an interest. Okay? If there is an interest, then there are steps we will have to take to ensure that it can, the brownfield, that there aren't major contaminants and things like that. That would make it totally unfeasible. But from our preliminary view, and we think that whatever contaminant is there is for surface related, because material was moved out of there as opposed to material placed there. However, until we do that study, we would not know. Do that prior to putting $2.5 million in the ground.
But I'd say about 60 years ago, there were people living along that street. There were a couple houses along.
So the services that are out that way, do we know what size they are? Are they able to, like the water line heading that way, is it able to change from a certain point on in?
We've done a preliminary servicing plan, and the sewer and the water that is out there is capable of handling it. However, the elevations don't work. You need a lift station. So you need to come across the road and put a lift station. You need to run a force main over and above our sanitary sewer, our storm, our water. We would do all that is required, beside the lift station and your force main within, the construction of the road services, all of that. However, our sewer is going in the wrong direction. Because of the elevations, it's a big hole.
So Albert, what about the financial contribution of the town? Would there be funding available for some of the service expansion that would be required?
The government has indicated that they are interested in already have to develop. You're going to have to have a developer for that type of infrastructure. have older history. I might look at cities as well, they were 55, 95. You just trying to look at who's got a little bit of a base risk, so, you know, when you look at that kind of thing, you might want to look at big picture, and maybe the corporation might have to look at investment something that you all want, and a good for 15 years.
So you would provide preparation of the area, of the infrastructure would be the responsibility of the municipality?
No, we would construct everything that is required on the site. All the municipality would need to do is bring the sewer and water, which is on the other side of the road, to the road, and then a force main to pick it up from the lowest point to there. We would put in the sanitary sewer, the water, the storm, the road, everything within our development ourselves. The force main would end up being on the development.
And then later on, develop the actual properties, the buildings and things like that?
We would construct one unit and use it as a model home, model suite to sell the rest.
So is there a possibility of getting some local employment if it starts picking up and start selling these units?
Of course,
Excellent.
of course. It is very, very difficult getting tradespeople. We've been on our governments for the last 15 years as the business community, indicating to them that they need to start funding the skilled trades in the high school and the colleges and things like that, okay? Because we saw that all our key people are going to be in the cemetery, and there's still, you know, nobody's jumping into the trades. My God, a plumber can make more than a surgeon right about now. You know, like even in Thunder Bay, I tell you, if you don't know a plumber, you got a problem. Good luck having somebody returning your call, or an electrician. Like there are no trades. There are no people available.
They're taking a lot of that shop out of the school.
Well, they got to put it back in. You know, they got to start making like the plumber or the electrician like the captain of the football team. You know, start having trophies and make it a desirable thing. We actually have had discussions with both school boards saying this has to start here. You know, and if you guys want to do something like that, we as business will fund some scholarships or some trophies. You know, to make, you know, who can build the best. I don't know. Sink, bridge, you know.
I think finding an apprenticeship is like winning a lottery, though. I think there's a lot of talk about it, but finding that it's not as easy as what it's like people are led to believe. That's how I sort of see it. That's only my personal opinion.
Apprenticeships are one of those things. It's a lot of hard work,
Sure.
and you have to be motivated to do it, because at first you're learning and doing all the
Dirty work.
and then after that, once you have trade school
Yeah.
back,
Well, and you have to find an employer that will keep you on.
I don't think it's a problem finding the unemployed to take people on. Okay, I think it's more having the people. I mean, people coming into our company, we immediately have a discussion with them as to how far they'd like to go. You know, what would you like to do? And we're pushing them to do more. They come in as a flag person or a laborer or whatever, and we're pushing them onto a larger piece of equipment, slowly start to train them. Obviously, you can't take a flag person and put them on a tractor trailer or something, you know, but we are actually, we're trying to import people, all right, through the RNIP program that Thunder Bay is entitled to bring in approximately 100 foreign workers a year right now, and have sort of a special, you know, streamlined process. We put in, you know, 2 applications, you know, but the process is so long. It just gets so bureaucratic that you say, how much time do we have to waste on this? Here's somebody in Poland or Australia or whatever that has this skill. We're prepared to hire him and guarantee him work for 2 years full time. If he doesn't work out with our company, we'll pay his trip back. Why does the government have to get involved to that large a degree? You know, and The only thing that is limiting the amount of work that we can do are our skilled people. And every year we have less and less.
So my next question is, so we have the amendment for the is working over, but what is the next step after that?
Okay, so what we've done right now, we put out our numbers to chemical public
Right.
reference to the amendment to the site-specific official plan in the file. That's been done. Second phase now, which we have here now, individual applications that did before, is to have actually a public meeting. That's it. We never got any response back to the first one, objection to the proposal. So now we have to on October 19th, at the Interpretive Center, we have communication to that proposal, and different things, and the community input to the regular. Once this is done, over the winter months, then basically the process gets finalized.
I may be jumping ahead, but I suspect that there's going to be no difficulties with the amendment. And Bruno, because you're here and because you probably heard, Sylvia, I probably got the sense that there is an opportunity here, and the community is going to welcome you and the company to do this.
Well, thank you very much, because I think it's a good project for everybody, you know, and I mean, there's 100 units in that thing, which is a lot of units, you know. Like in Thunder Bay, to give you an example, okay, in the late 70s, we were doing 800 to 900 residential units a year. 5 years ago, we were doing 200. In the last 2 years, it's like 60 to 70. Just to give you, we're not in a growth mode, the whole region, and we have to work together to sell the lifestyle. Like, I mean, I want to live here. Growing up here, my family's here. Fortunately, all of my offsprings, all of my kids are able to stay here, and we'd like to have that opportunity for everybody, because we're living here by choice. However, we don't have enough motivating people and enough opportunities.
Certainly, there isn't a lot of the difficulty that there isn't the land available. Like in say 50 in the city of Thunder Bay.
The city of Thunder Bay, there's lots of land available, but the demand is not there. Here in your community right now, you don't have really any much land available. And again, for us to get involved, we're not going to come in for 5 or 10 units. I mean, we need to get something to get our teeth into to make the investment. But in Thunder Bay, we have ourselves probably well over 1,000 residential units that are either approved or in draft plan stage. But again, it just goes like this, like 3-4 years ago, we were doing 200 to 250, the city of Thunder Bay, and probably 7 out of every 10 units, new units that are built in the city of Thunder Bay would be on our developments. We have most of them. It has slowed down. We need to get our governments to assist us in offering some enticement to people to move up here, to come here, I mean, I don't know.
No, I don't. Our advertisers are trying to steal people from Thunder Bay, but I think you've been around our town and see if there's nothing for sale in there.
Yeah.
Put a sign over this morning, the next one is gone. And I know there will be a lot of people from Thunder Bay that are retiring, not only retiring, travel back.
Well, a lot of them are living along the lake shore, so what is an extra 20, 30 kilometers?
I commuted a single day.
That's all I can hardly wait till we get going on this. It's selling it along.
So my final question is, what would you expect the cost from the municipality if you're to something like, what's the best way to, if you're,
We'd have to do some preliminary engineering for, I've done some preliminary design and engineering on what I need to do.
okay.
And from that, I came up with my $2.5 million. Okay. The lift station and the force main, and they would have to do a preliminary design. I don't think it would cost very much. But again, we had a preliminary design for what we need to do.
Any questions? I'm excited. Thank you.
Yeah,
very much for coming.
excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, did you want to say something? Well, basically, I've already explained basically where we were from here, so we know where they are.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having us. We've enjoyed doing the work that we have here so far. We plan on, after receiving comments tonight, finishing up the action plan by the end of the week. So you'll have it, it'll all be done, and we can hopefully move forward. I have to say, our thoughts are quite similar to Bruno Construction. We think you have a terrific opportunity here that shows. Obviously, Thunder Bay is a place to draw from, but we think that there's a lot more, especially domestically and especially in the province of Ontario. Diversified approach to tourism is the new way. Basically, in the 1990s, an eco-tourist would show up in a town, go out in a kayak, and come back, leave a bag of garbage, and go home. Now they come, spend a week, maybe stay in a hotel, spend one day hiking, one day kayaking, one day fishing, many, many other things. They want to be immersed in the community now, and they want to be immersed in the culture. They want to be friendly with the town folk. It's a whole new era. And we think by you allowing us to do this work, we're going to be able to show you that it's the type of thing that a location like Red Rock can really take advantage of. So I have my partners, Andrew Alt on the phone, I hope. Zoom, maybe?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah. Hi, Andrew. Tom Onderjanka. I'm gonna let Tom. My name is Jim Turner, by the way. I'm gonna let Tom take over, and I'm gonna take notes and run the pointer. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim, and thank you all for having us here tonight. And I echo Jim's comments as well on the opportunity that's here. As you will see in your binders there, we've spent a great deal of time putting together the information and measuring things based on data, statistics, and what's happening in the environment today. There's a different world we live in today because of COVID-19. It's closed the doors down at the borders, which has required assessment of what really will take place over the next 3 years because of not getting back to normal anytime soon. With that in mind, though, we did come up with a number of strategies that we're going to take you through today. I understand that you did have that strategy deck last week. What we wanted to do before we prepare the final document is find out whether or not we missed anything from your perspective, any comments you may have that you need clarity on, and what we can do to incorporate that, or simply wait until we get the document done this week and you'll get it back and we'll be able to move on to the next stage. I do want to thank Albert and Ashley, who have been working diligently on your behalf to get us what we need and able to put this together. So Andrew, I'll let you say hello and who's on.
Sure. Hi. Yeah. Again, thank you very much for the opportunity to have worked on this. And, as Tom said, we look forward to, building on what we have and continuing to release the potential of Red Rock. There is a tremendous amount of opportunity, and based on the analysis, it's shown that really this place can be the place in a very short amount of time. So we're looking forward to seeing Red Rock on its continued development.
Thank you, Andrew. Jip, let's start with the first strategy here, or the methodology. So this process hasn't happened overnight. It's been a long time coming. We've gone through site visits. This is our second time up here from Little Current on Manitoulin Island. Andrew is from Thunder Bay and Sault Ste. Marie, traveling back and forth. And so we've taken all these steps to where we are today, which is delivering the strategy document that will then finalize the action plan. So, Jip, next slide. Presenting each strategy recommendation based on the content, namely opportunities and threats, and the external environment, which is addressed in how either we build on the strengths of Red Rock or migrates to current weaknesses. So it is important to understand also not only the strengths, but what we may have to overcome, because we can always overcome those if they're identified. That's critical to understand. So we start now, encourage waterfront development with local dining and retail space, and call for available funding for strategic infrastructure. Any questions or comments that you may have had when you had an opportunity to look at the slide, or something that wasn't clear? And everybody's on base, that's fine. I just want to make sure that yes.
We're there.
Yeah. So have we, by the way. So have we. Strategy 2, integrate technology expansion to connect tourists, local residents, businesses in the Red Rock region. So I will just add to this for clarity. Obviously, we live in a technology world today. Nobody does anything without looking at their phone or checking social media or what's trending or anything else. So the point here is to increase this viability on the web, not just from a website perspective, but integrating all technologies and touch points that will grab clusters of people and bring them here based on the personas that we've developed and shown you in the material. Number 3, develop an inclusive digital marketing strategy connecting Red Rock through a range of mediums, including web, social media, mobile apps, and integrated technology, which is what I spoke of. So today it really is so much more critical to be able to connect directly to who that consumer is that's going to be a tourist in this marketplace. And identifying them is more critically important than just opening up the gates and hope people come. That worked in the 50s. This isn't 1950s anymore. So it is critical to understand that step. Stabilize the event, expand event portfolio. So, the critical thing about events, not only does it bring economic impact to a community, but it stabilizes a community, because it enables volunteers locally to get together with volunteers from outside the community. They get to see the value proposition from that as well. So that was why that was included in its strategy. Explore market research to examine, develop Highway 17 exit. So this, we're going just one step further from the standpoint of whether it's a truck stop, fuel station, additional hotel, that obviously you have more than 7,000 people driving through your front door every hour, and more than the numbers are in there, more than 7,000. So we need to turn them off the highway and bring them into here, and so we first have to get them stopped from that perspective. Strategy 6. Again, earlier we were talking, of course, about housing and people living here. The plan to attract a hotel developer for a hotel with Lakeview within 5 years to anchor tourism and development. It's critical. You're obviously not going to build a tourist mecca here if you don't have any place to stay. And but on the upside of that, you do have serviceable land. You do have attraction points and propositions that will be an opportunity to sell moving forward. Andrew, why don't you take a couple slides here, buddy?
Sure. So going off of what Tom was saying with the 4,700 highway travelers per day, we want to make sure that they're lured off the highway by also building distinctive wayfinding signage so that we can steer them into the community and they can spend their dollars in Red Rock. That obviously creates jobs. And as Jib will tell you, for every $1 spent in tourism, it stays in the community 21 times before it leaves. So it has a tremendous impact, economic impact. Strategy number 8 is to continue to work towards development of a waterfront RV park and campground. It's not necessarily that the RV park or the campground make revenue, which they do, and it will make money, but they also spend money in other amenities, such as the restaurant, the LCBO, retail stores, and so on. That could also have and magnify the impact such tourists would make in the community. Strategy number 9A and strategy 9B. So these again are going back to how we position Red Rock as a community. And really, we broke this up into 2. First is mostly for the domestic market, and that's to promote Red Rock as an affordable, accessible, and regional destination for marine and as a hub for ecotourism. Strategy 9B is more for international tourism, although there are less. They have a much higher yield, which is shown in the binders that you have as well. And that's to promote Red Rock as a unique, one-of-a-kind natural destination to domestic and American anglers, up-and-coming explorers, connected explorers, as part of the current destination plan. So those 3 segments were identified by the Ontario Marketing Partnership Corporation, and they had over 22 different segments which we started at, and our analysis narrowed it down to 3 that are targeted.
So Andrew, I just want to interrupt here for a second because I'd like you to explain a little bit about the personas of some of the people that we're talking about coming into both strategy 9 and strategy 9B.
Sure, absolutely. So we used a mixed methods approach, so both quantitative data and qualitative data. And so obviously the quantitative data came from different interviews with different businesses. We gave them basically a structured, semi-structured interview as to where their customers come from and so on. However, the qualitative data, what we use to get that insight, is we developed personas, which are basically fictional people. We give them a name, we give them a profession, an age, where they're from, which are based in research that represent different segments of the market. So segments is when we look at the market overall, we're able to look at the data, and through data reduction methods, we're able to see there's a segment here of similar likes and interests, a segment over here of similar likes and interests, and so on. And so after we looked at that data, we came up with about 10 different personas that we presented the committee. And as a committee, we leveraged our empathy as if we were Emily, or as if we were Jack, or as if we were Joan. And through that, we're able to see, okay, what are the pain points that we would go to? What are the touch points that we would touch, such as a business or maybe a hiking trail? And what could improve that person's experience? And so we use that data to say, okay, here's the ones that make sense in the short term, and so on. So based on our quantitative and qualitative data, we came up with the segments that made sense for fitting in Red Rock.
Thank you. Any further questions on that? Because it really is important to understand how we created the personas based on real data and real drivers from those tourism segments. Because if you're coming here for canoeing, you're dramatically different than you are for a hiker. You know, you think you may enjoy the outdoors. Those are 2 different animals from a standpoint of the perspective of the persona. So, yeah. Well, it's complicated, but the reality is if you don't understand who's coming here, you're not going to get them to come. And that's the difference between thinking you understand the marketplace and actually breaking it down and communicating directly to people that want to be here. That's the difference. Yep. I'll let you take this one, Kip.
Yeah, so you know you've already had crews here. I know that Lavant was in the harbor this week. My favorite has been around the Great Lakes for about 5 years. But so you know it's mentioned in here. Consider it also that destination you already are. It's a natural. Absolute natural We have a dock, a wharf designated. It has pump out capability, pump out their food. We have a dock harbor master that maintains the orders from grocery stores, and other ship wares, stores that they need. So we're quite good at it in the Little Current. We're there because we are considered we're one of the number one ports because we're considered golden. And the marketers, the cruise ship lines, go to market. They tell people they can take them into the Canadian marine. Well, the next extension is here. They want to come here. They're already talking about those ships. From the northern part of Lake Superior. Lake Superior is not even close to the potential of cruise ships. There's a lot of communities around the area that interested. I can tell you that they prefer communities like this. The passengers get out and mingle around town. They're happy sometimes not going anywhere. So, you know, we think it's a very strong fund, but it's very fast and it's been rather successful, and it will continue to be after the overall. Go ahead, John.
Continue advocacy efforts for fish rejuvenation in Nipigon Bay. Obviously, a lot of us take for granted the fishing community and tourism capabilities of the economic drivers from fishing. But that also has to be managed, and it also has to make sure that it's going to be plentiful, and through that process, that includes what that means from a positive message for tourism, which is really critical. 12, consider adding adventure tourism rental to a marine park list of services to diversify activities and increase accessibility. So obviously, a lot of people traveling may not want to travel with their own kayaks, canoes, especially if they're here for another purpose and see the opportunity, not realizing how beautiful the lakes were, the waterway was, and they want to have it accessibly ready for there. It also adds additional value for your marina from a standpoint of revenue, as well as touch points as to what that could mean. So any further questions? I don't want to stop anybody from, if we haven't identified things.
We do understand the liability of those companies that started and they're talking about. So we're, I think, that we the municipality might look at partnership. As a pilot, so that the municipality probably get better currently. That I would have that's seen in other areas.
So strategy 13, work with local tourism operators to diversify winter outing offerings, including skate skiing. So there are a number of providers across the province, both North and in Central Ontario, in particular Central Ontario, that are losing their ability to generate revenue from the business because of changing trends of snow and climate. And so that opens the door and opportunities to push people further north, which of course, this is a perfect place for that to happen from that perspective. Andrew, do you have anything else to comment on that? I know you're an avid outdoorsman.
Yeah, you know, in Thunder Bay, skate skiing and cross-country skiing are both very popular events. There's both Camview and Lappy. However, those are both very far distances away from the city, depending on where you're in. From my house to Lappy is an hour because it's so far north. So, you know, the distance of Red Rock being away from Thunder Bay is not a concern. People want to kind of mix it up every once in a while, doing the same trail over and over and over again. You know, it does get a little bit boring. So, you know, we looked at some data, and, you know, in Thunder Bay, they have a much higher per capita participation rate in cross-country skiing. Of course, that's because of the Finnish and Nordic roots of the city. And so we believe, you know, this is an exceptional opportunity to go skiing, not just in the bush, but in the bush with the view. And this is just one example of how local operators can further diversify and tackle the seasonality factor of tourism.
Thanks, Andrew.
Strategy number 14, promote abundance of scenic winter and off-season ecotourism activity. So despite the fact that we live in a cold climate for a number of months of year, there are people that thrive on that and look forward to that opportunity. The fact that you are, of course, off of Highway 17 enables them to get here very quickly, as Andrew pointed out, regarding skiing going north an hour. It's dramatically different driving north from Thunder Bay than it is coming east here on Highway 17 to Red Rock. So, and those activities, of course, it's a booming industry right now, even in winter months. So that's it. Jim, I'll let you close up here and take over from there.
Yeah, the last little bit is the action plan that we're going to have to you folks right away, and by the end of the week. And we just, if there was any comments, anything that you don't understand, we'd love to go over it right now very quickly if we can. And we tried to make it as coherent as possible. I think it's in depth, and it needs to be. This is important stuff. We are really thrilled to be working in this area because I was a tourist operator for 20 years. I was also in the marine services business, and I fully understand that the days of a family or a group of people coming for a week to a cabin fishing are not growth. They are not growth. And we have a tremendous opportunity in Northern Ontario because all the infrastructure for snowmobiling in Parry Sound and Barrie and those places, they can't use it. I live on Manitoulin Island. We're actually south of Sudbury, and it's nothing for our residents to leave and go to Cochrane to go snowmobiling in November because they can. They sure won't be able to do that. Maybe not even till January. Our lake doesn't freeze until mid-January. So they're traveling. They've got money. They're the contractors and tradespeople that Silvio was talking about. They're making a lot of money. They have beautiful snowmobiles and recreation equipment, and they're ready to travel in Ontario. And they want to go where the snow is, where the ice is, where the fishing is. And so there's a ton of domestic traveling out there. We can make this place into an all-season tourist area, which it needs to be. I mean, you could even just transform the golf course into cross-country or skate skiing. And where there's infrastructure needs to be done. Also, from my experience, we had a big wharf project in Little Current where we developed the cruise ship dock and about another 100 slips of yacht docks. And sure enough, after about 3 years of getting that done, our local First Nation groups came to us and asked if they could put in a $10 million hotel and conference center. We said, no problem, go right ahead. There's a piece of property and it's built and full all the time. There's conferences. My wife runs a retail store. It's busy now year round instead of for 4 months. And that's the kind of stuff we can hopefully see here in Red Rock. It's really a great slate to work from. Anything?
Two questions. Red Rock obviously has been chosen by you people as a possible place to work. Are you dealing with others along the North Shore, other communities such as Schreiber, Marathon?
Not at this time. But oh, sure, we'll be. After we get this work done, we wanted to get this pro bono stuff during COVID. We thought it was a good idea, good promotion for our company, obviously, and good for the people that we had picked to get the work. But yeah, we'll go forward. We'll be doing a lot more of it. I know because of the committee we've been introduced to some people in Nipigon and other areas, and the Sunset Country and Superior Country travel people. So yeah, we're planning on doing more. We see a call for a more regional approach to some of this stuff as well. So as time goes on, we expect our our government is likely going to be spending more and more on funding for this kind of work, and it needs to be done.
The other question that I had is, our hope eventually at some point will be that industry would be happy here as well. How are you interfacing in your plans with potential communities? I know you talk a lot about commercial enterprise and things of that sort, but what about industry?
Quite frankly, it hasn't come up. The industrial needs are, I mean, we don't need newsprint much anymore. The manufacturing, if it does come, it will be, I would assume it would be light, which can fit very easily with tourism. It does all the time. But massive industry, unless there's a deposit of ore somewhere close by, it's going to be tough to get that going again. But I think that light industry is really good, and we, for instance, and I'm going back to my hometown again, I'm sorry. We have a group of young, very young people that have just moved in. They negotiated a piece of property with our town and got some funding, and they built a building that's not much bigger than this room, and they're growing mushrooms. And they're absolutely delicious. I don't know where they came from. I don't know much about mushroom growing, but my wife comes home with a box every week, and they're selling them. So in 1990, a company called Coldwater Fisheries showed up and asked if they could put some cage nets in to raise lake trout and rainbow trout. Today, Monroe Fisheries is now the company. They have well over 40 employees in our community. They have, I believe, 5 fish farms. They had just showed up with a new $2 million tug last spring. They have several vessels, and they're offshore, and they're bringing and harvesting fish, and they have a small industrial site that cleans the fish and processes them to take them to their market prep in St. Thomas, Ontario. So there's trucking jobs. These people are all, they're not quite minimum wage, but they're low, they're uneducated. They don't have, high school degrees and stuff, but they're working, and they're not on the social systems that a lot of communities have. And so it's really that kind of industry that I would say you should be looking for. And yes, it fits well because the tourists love buying the fresh fish, etc. And although you guys, you've got enough fish already.
One would note that because there's been some concerns about the decline of the actual lake population in our area.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And you probably studied that we are going to increase that to increase the tourism.
Yeah. It's usually it's a kind of a partnership. You work with your fishing game clubs and convince the M&R that they need fingerlings and that type of stuff. But yeah, it's going to have to be worked on. It's hard to say what the cause is, but you have a world-class fishery here. There's no question about that.
In fact, wasn't that part of your presentation?
Well, yeah,
Fishing and regeneration.
Yeah, it's in the study work. Yeah, you'll see that as an action item.
I will just add, the idea of diversity and tourism strategy is fishing is for so if they will expand tourism to a 4-season application, there's a lot of things that things to bring people in all seasons, and they also get to see the beauty of your location, not just in the summer, but in the winter. That's good as well. Those people are coming to a position that has far more greater economic power to spending money. They're also part of business, part of industry. They can also think about moving their own businesses and industry here as well. So that's the other nice thing about it. You start looking at different personas, and you look at that document and you understand who is involved in each one of those segments. Those people are very exciting because what they can do from a secondary perspective, why they're here enjoying tourism is also.
It's interesting because you look at this industry report down at Little Scarred about 10 years ago. And
You're the guy.
yeah, I was a plumber back then, so he found me.
Mhm.
But we put in a fourplex, and it was a new building going in, and you know, the development was starting there, and I remember we were working there with a couple of local guys that worked in Sudbury, and at one time, everybody left Island to work in Sudbury. You know, everybody left Sudbury at one time to work here, and I worked on the Scopa. I mean, that rock, like right on the verge of everyone's gonna move home back to the place. It's got so much potential. It reminds me of Little Prairie, and anything that you've done there, it's the potential to it.
I was on council all through that, and I can tell you, it was the exact same thing. I was having, you know, visions all through this work of, you know, we can do this. You know, that works, and it works, and it works, and it works, and it just takes a group of counselors to get together and keep moving things forward, and that's what we're here to help you with, whatever we can do.
The report is really strengthened by the fact that you're looking at multi-seasonal approaches to things. You've shown ice climbing,
Yeah.
skiing, you've shown all sorts of summer things. There's 4 seasons around here.
And I will add to that, sir, that you're in a better position than Little Current because we don't have as long a winter season. And of course, it takes a long time for people to get rested up after deer season. But, you know, we're after Christmas before we're even hearing snowmobiles running now. And that used to obviously be before, but you've got proximity to ski hills. You've got proximity, obviously, to cross-country hiking and all that type of stuff. And I can tell you this, that 10 or 15 years ago, I didn't hear about anybody talking about winter camping. Well, we've got people on YouTube now that's, you know, how they sell themselves. Their families are spending weeks in the bush in their jazzed up Jeeps and stuff. And they're happy in the winter snowshoeing and all that type of thing. And we've got a more healthier and healthier outlook on things as well. We're all going to live to be 100. And anyway, I don't want to take up any more of your time. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're quite welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You haven't heard.
Thank you.
Actually, earlier this summer, his family decided to $100 that the original waterfall program. That is the original victim that Edward and daughter actually have.
Very difficult.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much. Thanks for your local park there. Thank you.
Moved by Sarah, second by Gord. Be resolved, council accept the report from Limestone Partners on tourism strategy for the township of Red. All in favor? Good. Everybody's had the minutes of Tuesday, September the 8th. Meeting, had a chance to read them over. Any errors or omissions? Moved by Ortiz. Second by Cam. Be it resolved, the minutes of Tuesday, September the 8th, 2020, regular meeting of council be approved as presented. All in favor? No bylaws, correspondence, for health. On behalf of the Hike for Health Planning Committee, I would first like to take this opportunity to thank you for supporting our 2019 event. As you know, our events raise money in support of programs and organizations that benefit the health of our local community. Last year's hike was extremely successful, including our new event, beer drinking, beer test, and a photograph workshop. A total of $6,600 was raised. After regrouping expenses, we were able to donate the following: $1,500 to the elementary school in Nippigan, Red Rock, and Dorian for active programs, equipment, $2,000 to the local Jump Start, $1,000 to Edge Art, $1,000 to the Land of Nippigan Waterway Association, $1,410 to the Nippigan District Memorial Hospital. In the fall, our committee was set to establish a single $500 high school bursary. However, due to the added stress on graduating students and families this year, we voted to award 2 students with high school bursaries of $500 each. We're sure you're already aware of COVID-19 pandemic has had an impact on events such as ours. Social distancing and limited amount of people that can gather. To ensure the health and safety of our volunteers, participants, and communities, we have made the decision to reimagine our 2020 event. Our theme is Choose Your Own Adventure. Hikers will take to the trails of their choice during the week of September the 25th to the 27th, which is the last week of September. Hikers will be encouraged to explore a trail they've never used, Prairie-Book and Nippigan Red Rock area. We encourage you to do our website to check out the new photos uploads to our 2019 photo gallery. Those of you Hike for Health Planning Committee meeting.
Did we vote last year? I would suppose that involved in. No.
Make a motion.
Yeah, I agree with Sarah.
I'm not gonna try and move my, I'm gonna do the findings again, because I'm gonna make it as far as I'm going.
Moved by Sarah, second by Ortiz. Be resolved that council donate $500 to the Hike for Health to be held during the week of September 25th to the 27th, 2020. Now this one.
Well, if you're gonna have a discussion on it, then I'll leave, but if you're just gonna read it, then.
Yeah, I'm just gonna read it.
Yeah, okay.
From EMS. Plan. Prior to the pandemic, performance concept consulting was engaged to update SNES strategic planning. Work on this project was continued with the consultant, but clearly not to the extent possibly due to the restrictions caused by COVID-19 pandemic. Todd McDonald, President and Principal Consultant, and John Cole, Superior Consultant, will be hosting an online session for the District of Thunder Bay Municipality. As the CAO of your municipality, your input is being sought, and we invite you or your designated to meet with performance concept consulting via an online virtual meeting. They're also asking for the mayor or the designated to participate as well. Todd McDonald, President. This meeting is to be September 29th, 2020, 9 to 11:30. Location, virtual online meeting. That's it for correspondence. Municipality operator. Or you want fire chief first? Yeah. I'm in the corner.
Training for the month of June. June 1st, we did port pump, port tanks, and drafting down at the marina. June, was 12 members. June 8th, 2020, SCBA, PPE, and rescuing our smoke trailer. 13 members. June 15th, we did Auto X. 12 members. June 22nd, compressor with 12 members there. No trainings for the months of July and August. Callouts for the months of June, July, and August. One in June on the 23rd at 10 Steel Avenue for CO alarm. And July 7th at 79 Rankin, the natural gas odor. Special training for these months, there's nothing to report. Fire prevention, protection, nothing. Public relations, nothing. Personal strength, regular department strength, 26. Personal strength, right now is 25. Which includes 2 comm desks, 1 fire prevention officer, 3 junior firefighters, and it's 1 CEMC. Activities for those months: mail, email, phone calls, vehicle phone, and hall maintenance. Week updates to the OFM regarding PPE, and department strength and supplies, ranging upcoming training for the fall. Range Ontario Fire Trucks are coming to do its annual inspection on the fire trucks and the ladders. Organize the files in the office weekly MECG for the months of June and July, then cancel the things getting back to normal. Recommendation to council, Chief and Deputy recommend Stephanie Flanagan be appointed police firefighter. She just moved here, her and her husband. Her husband is an OPP officer. Yeah. So I did have a brief discussion with her and her husband, and they love it here, so they're planning on staying for a while, anyways.
In regards to your PPE, do you have enough supplies?
We've scrambled. We've mixed matched some PPEs. Some of the stuff will be coming in probably in the next year with NFPA standards. So something that we'll be looking at in January. One thing I will note that Ontario Fire Trucks was here on Wednesday, probably the 14th, I believe. They were here. They did the pump test and ladder test. There was some defects with pumper 1 and pumper 2. There is a quote that's going to be being done. He is back down in November. Second week in November, he'll be in Marathon, and then he's coming here to compare what's needed with that. The ladders, all the ladders tested look fine. So.
Did a call for natural gas order? What was the outcome of that?
It was the gas meter. Enbridge Union Gas was there the day before. They just installed a new meter, so it was a problem with their connection at the house. So.
You got a total of 14 calls. What sort of calls are you getting?
So calls for the year, mostly carbon monoxide. Usually January, February, March, it's Auto X, NECs. stuff like that. We've had 2 grass fires. We had a call this morning with a lift assist, so it varies.
Moved by Cam, second by Dorothy. Be resolved, Stephanie Flanagan be appointed as the probationary fire.
Thank you. Thanks for letting me go.
Thank you. Okay, Blair, okay.
Start with Gerald's report. Recreation Center, the pool was pumped out of summer water and most of the debris. The pool requires vacuum cleaning from A1 sewage, just the remaining sludge. Then we'll refill it with water in preparation for winter. Must be refilled to a certain level. Didn't freeze and crack. Marina Center, Public Works staff continue to perform weekly inspections of the building. Upon inspection, one of the new Armstrong research pumps up in the mezzanine has failed. We've been struggling with these pumps lately. So Gerald has contacted the manufacturer, so they're looking into that. Yes, Fox was requested to provide a quote estimate to remove the solar hot water internal equipment upstairs. They're going to connect the bottom of the hot water tank to the boiler system. It's 2 coils from hot water. Creating up from one's solar, one's boiler. They'll both be run up the boiler. We just had too many problems with that solar system. All-Tech Roofing repaired the roof over the utility room in this building, and we just have to reinstall the stack. Health and safety, we had one meeting for the month of August. We discussed, we did a refresher on confined space. General Public Works, 2 solar lights were installed on the Highway 628 Township sign. Students at both Marine and Public Works have concluded their employment on August 28th. During the month of September, one student is scheduled to work 4 hours, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. every Saturday and Sunday for coverage at the kiosk. During the week, Monday through Friday, customers requiring fuel, etc., are required to phone the Public Works to arrange for service from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m.
We've been having many calls because requesting fuel.
Not a lot. I mean, it's always slow this time of year generally. So a handful. The beavers have been causing a lot of damage to poplar trees on the Marina Park here. They've destroyed a couple of trees on the Great Wall now. So Gerald's made a call to the M&R to arrange for trappers to deal with the issue. Normally what we do. I don't think the season for beaver starts until October 8th. The combo sand plow truck and 1-ton truck used for sanding are both sent to rust check for undercoating since these trucks are exposed to winter salt. All necessary mechanical parts for snow removing equipment have been ordered and shipped. Once assembled by Public Works crew, all equipment will be ready for the winter season. All roof repairs scheduled for this year for municipal buildings have been completed. Municipal Dump. The Ministry Inspector Mike Landers was asked to attend a meeting to discuss the Red Rock Municipal Dump closure requirements, which will include the Red Rock Municipal Dump in about 12 to 14 year period. Firstly, we did an inspection of the dump and found it to be in good condition. We noted concern about the size of the scrap metal pile and the size of the scrap wood pile. I explained to him, Gerald, that the wood pile would burn once the snow would arrive, so we like the perimeter sump is quite large. And he explained that the metal pile is part of the dump maintenance contractor's contract, and he's been spoken to, so they've heard of made arrangements with somebody. I believe they're not from the area, they're not local, but they're down east and they're coming to do some work in this area. So it should be shortly jointly develop one shared dump location. And on to the bridge status of Bridge 1, JM and JML have completed the post-tensioning of Bridge number 1. JML has informed us that the weight load restriction has been raised to its pre-post-tensioning tonnage. The lower numbers that were applied, 18, 32, and 45 tons, have been peeled off the bridge approach signage. Load rating of the structure is now back to 25, 40, 55 tons. That's their repairs complete. That's Gerald's report.
Just, I got a question with them. So we're looking at 12 to 14 year period. That's what we're dumping right now. Right, based on the cost investment. So all said and done, 5 year worth of development, that's going to be for people, as well as recycling. So what would the cost of recycling be? Anything we really look at? Recycling plan?
Well, it hasn't been implemented in this area, but I would expect it to be shortly.
I know the Red Rock Band, I believe, has a program. I mean, it's something that we should probably really look at doing. I think there's got to be something, right? There's got to be something.
Yeah, we're actually going to lose our electronic waste bin that we've been using that program for years now up at our shop, and it's used well.
Yeah.
And that program's coming to an end in December. Yeah.
Okay. And then all that waste now goes
Back to the landfill.
back to the landfill. Yeah. 12 to 14 years, you don't recycle, they're taking that away. Hire an engineer, we stretch the life of that, you know. They're composting, they're organic, I think separate, I mean, your due diligence, I think they got money for Red Rock.
Dave, I've talked to Dave for a little bit about it,
Yeah.
and he's a lot more confident about what you're suggesting. The way he's compacting that landfill is just pretty good. Yeah.
5 years ago, they were good for 25 years.
Yeah. No, it's not necessarily a yearly inspection. I think the last formal inspection I had was 2016. This actually wasn't really a formal inspection. It's just sort of a pop in, but he is quite impressed with their landfill.
Yeah, definitely.
Billy does a pretty good job. Yeah, that's yeah. Well, that's generally where we put vehicles, but it's been a long time.
Two comments. One, this issue of the dump closure has been around for a while. If I'm not mistaken, there was discussion that the township actually has a fair amount of property around that area.
Yeah, we're currently on one subdivided lot of a main block. There's 4 subdivided blocks on the property that we own.
So in theory, we could have 4 dump sites in the future. Because
Yeah, but you still have to go through all the jump through all the hoops. You gotta do well.
there's no, oh my God, panic, you know, like we're gonna be out of space or anything like that. We've got lots of room.
Yeah, but it's still gotta, you gotta
It's
start
start the
planning for it
process,
because
yeah.
it's such a lengthy process, they're saying.
Right? And secondly, has any initiative that happened, whether through our council or whatever, to approach the government with regards to recycling?
Not that I'm aware of.
So perhaps we need to work on that right now, going to get that thing moving.
Yeah, that's part of the reason why we kind of did the environmental committee to start looking at things in that manner. Hundred percent, it's regional, right, everything, so. 100%, yeah. Discuss it there.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, it's little things too, right? I mean, after being a kid growing up, back then we were separated, yeah, separated, right?
Yeah, the clock wants to come up.
Yeah.
Toward the end of this week. Yeah.
Use, reuse, recycle.
We'll bring that up then. That's the same way Ferris Bay and Skyward on it. We've gone together. I think that the dump is halfway between Skyward and Ferris Bay. Maybe we'll be looking at the same thing here.
Only makes sense for.
Yeah, we can bring that, put that on the agenda for the stuff. I've never been to Michigan State on the problem over there.
I've never been there myself, but I don't know
We'll bring it up.
where they stand as far as room.
And our landfill looks, every year you go back and it looks like it is, it looks good. Like that, being proactive, I think.
We got the best between this, landfill site. I go there, ask, Billy tells me where he's gonna put his RV park next to him. Nice and clean up there.
Of course, there might be a little bit of competition because remember that in Nippigan, his brother is the landfill site operator there. So
Big brother just keep that in pocket.
I got one more to go. Water treatment and distribution. So QMS DWS update. A tentative plan has been discussed with the Township of Nippigan drinking water system to perform the internal audit for the Red Rock drinking water system. A timeline for this audit will be discussed in the upcoming weeks. The external audit for the drinking water quality management standard from SCI Global has been postponed, allowing time for the internal audit. And a new proposed date has not been suggested as of yet from SCI Global. Annual calibration service for flow meters at the water and wastewater facilities was performed from Lakeside Instrumentation on September 8th. The water plant was visited by Superior Electric for the purpose of offering a quote on new LED lighting fixtures. The lighting in the facility mainly consists of metal halide lamp fixtures and offers extremely poor lighting in some parts of the plant. During the visit, a closer look was taken at where they placed a surge suppressor for 600 volt power coming to the water plant. Both projects are capital funded projects in this year's budget. Training opportunities are still being explored for drinking water staff operators or drinking water system operators. Sorry. Online webinars are being offered by some of the main training providers in the province.
can you expand on the training opportunities as far as water operators?
Well, we require training to maintain licensing. So because of COVID, a lot of the training was canceled, but we would have one visit between get this training. So there's been an emphasis on a lot of webinars, and remote training, so trying to take advantage of that.
There was an offer, I believe, from the Red Rock
Yeah, they offer training at Lake Helen. It's done out of the Quaidnock Center in Dryden, so we try and take advantage of that whenever we can. I've been in contact with the trainer over there.
How are people as far as their level of qualifications or whatever? I don't even know how.
Well, you have to maintain the license for the level of plant that you operate. We have level 2 plants right now. And our distribution is a class 1, so we have to at least need a class 1 license for that.
People are all up there.
Bob is still working to obtain all of his right classification of licensing. I believe he's got his level 2 water treatment now, so he needs to do wastewater collection, and he's got his distribution class now. So he's got one to go yet. So he's completely certified. Both Trevor and I are all certified for everything.
Weekly water samples were collected and sent to ALS laboratory from August 17th to September 18th. No adverse test results were received from these samples. Water meter readings were done for the month of August on September 1st. UV sensor verifications were performed at the water plant in August, and standby power was tested at the water plant in August. Wastewater collection and treatment. One load of screenings was hauled to the landfill over the course of this reporting period. Repairs to the collector system for one of the clarifiers was needed after the collector chain broke from cycling heavy sludge. The clarifier had to be drained, and sludge removal was required from A1 sewage before the vessel could be entered by public works staff to make the necessary repairs. The clarifier is now fully operational. It's currently in service. Hydro One will be installing a new power transformer on site as part of the new service upgrade for the new wastewater plant in the upcoming weeks. Notice will be provided well in advance, so standby power can be tested at the current plant, as power will be interrupted for several hours over the period of the install. And I didn't write anything in my report. I should have, but I'd like to just say how impressed we were with the students that we had this summer. I know I got a lot of compliments on the work that they did, and
Well,
they were.
I think you guys did a good job with the students, keeping an eye on them, and that, you know, they wanted it. Not a little bit all summer.
Yeah, but they really did. We were sort of short-staffed that way, and they did a really good job.
Were you able to pass that on to them?
Yeah,
the
yeah.
new concern?
Yeah, I did several times.
Good. Any questions for anything, the hydrant, when you start the fire, like, there.
We'll probably do that in the first week of October, the second week of October. We'll do a fall flush.
New season. Get all moves under the new food.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot for the nice report. All right.
Thank you. Well, I feel like I've done this one already, but it was 3 months ago, June
You
9th.
probably did, March.
June 9th. So again, the library has been converted to Jazzy system. Lots of work was done by all the staff. They had 2 to 4 hour shifts, maintaining the COVID-19 requirements. The staff is still continuing to do curbside service, which I think is beneficial. They're not quite comfortable opening up, even though they are allowed to. We just don't see how it's going to work. If people touching books, you just can't help it if you're a reader. You touch the books, they can see what, you know, and they can't stand behind every patient for a patient with a client. Since a lot of their programming, since libraries closed, they use a lot of online resources. So they added 2, 4, 6, 8. So they added 6 online resources for people to use, and they had a 60% increase in some of those services. So Tumble Books, Teen Cloud, Auto Cloud, Romance Cloud, Double Go for Little Readers, Capstone Interactive Books, Crabtree eBooks, Scholastic platforms. So they really put everything out there. Anything that's like provided for free, and other libraries they used it. So that was really beneficial to our community. And as of right now, so it's just curbside. And I think they're doing a good job.
Underscore that comment that the library has been probably one of our most successful resources of our community. During this time of difficulty, it's probably provided good mental health to a lot of people. They're great people working over there.
I will say that resolution 2 was passed, so that was check number 150 to 158, in the amount of $3,320.97.
Unfinished business. New business, financial review update.
On the first page, that's the one here with capital revenue. And the expenditures are like, actually, to date, the revenue coming in grand total, and we still got another 4 months to go. That's $2,694,298. If you go to page C, you see at the bottom here, the summary of the steps. Right here today, we have $1,929,454. Our capital, which is $186,000 last year, we both spent $51,000. That goes together, it is $1,981,440. But the revenue to $713,400. Keep in mind some of these expenses here, we've actually taken from some of the grant structure, which is not added to this. So the figure will include that as we go forward. The other thing I want to mention also to count is that state of municipal affairs, some of the revenues that we bought, they were given us $57,400. And we just put our figures together how much COVID-19 cost us extra equipment. We should be able to probably have second part of the loss revenue. So right now, it's quite well. And some of the cost saving measures that we've done in support also help those. That's correct. Pretty well broken down. Waterfront, water, sewer, and it's just basically the rules that we got actual. All of this quite honestly with it. The full is on the website. This will be the council, so it's going to publish on the website. If you have any questions,
Yep, sounds good, Andy. Moved by Gord, second by Sarah. Be it resolved that council accept the 2020 financial review update as presented. All in favor? Good. Moved by Sarah, second by Ortiz. Be resolved, council to move into camera at 7:30. 8:35, I'm sorry. Yeah, in order to address a matter pertaining to labor relations or employee negotiations. The receiving of advice that is subject to solicitors, client privilege, including communication necessary for that purpose.